The second part of a framework for the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle is the North American Formation Plan. So looking at this portrait, how do we get there? What's the path? What's the process to be able to get there? This is the formative plan that lays out formative objectives, goals, means, content, and experiences that can help grow and mature these traits of the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle. There are kind of two dimensions, though, of this plan that I think is important to take into account. The traits of the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle have somewhat of a cyclical phase, kind of like seasons or like the stages and phases of growth in a plant. You have a seed that's planted and it has the roots, and then it sprouts and it grows, and then it flowers and it bears fruit, and then it has seeds again that are planted, and it does the whole thing again. So there is somewhat of this cyclical phase. So it's never like you can say, I finished that phase and I'm never going back. So it isn't like a curriculum per se, but it's kind of like these phases of growth and these seasons of growth in the traits of the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle. At the same time, there is a chronological dimension to this plan and to this path in which this is played out in time. So there is kind of a growth, a building on, and so it kind of plays with these two dimensions, both the cyclical and this chronological growth that keeps going forward, onward, and upward. This formation plan takes place in 4 phases. The first phase is a phase that just happens kind of once, and the other 3 are the ones that are cyclical and keep going back to and being returned to. The first phase is RC Discover, and it is for those people who are discerning and trying to see if God is calling them to live out their baptismal call according to the Regnum Christi charism. The second is RC Basics, the third is RC Core, and the final is RC Horizons. The RC Discover phase is for those people who want to get to know more about Regnum Christi, to discern if this is what God is calling them to. The goal of this phase is really just to introduce them to Regnum Christi and to give an overview of the core of identity of the lay vocation in the Catholic Church and of the Regnum Christi charism as a spiritual family and an apostolic body. It then wants to present different experiences and content that just gives this overview and that allows them to experience the whole family, the elements of life in Regnum Christi, and be able to really do a discernment, to be able to see, is God calling me to this? And then if he is, to decide and to associate to Regnum Christi. RC Basics phase is for Regnum Christi members as they initiate or refresh this lifelong journey of formation and of configuration into Christ the Apostle of the Kingdom. It's looking to build or strengthen these foundations, to plant or to continue strengthening these deep roots of our identity as Regnum Christi Lay Apostles. So the content and experiences offered in this phase are aiming at that, strengthening foundations, continuing to refresh and initiate this path, this journey, and going to the basics of what it is to be a Regnum Christi Lay Apostle. So it's going to look at these foundations of the spiritual life and our relationship with Jesus, and the foundations and roots of our apostolic action. The RC Core phase is about growing and developing those roots and foundations that we've laid in RC Basics. So it is going to be about helping us grow in our own knowledge of ourselves, of Christ, of the faith, and helping those deepen and maturing. It's going to be giving us tools and experiences and content that help equip us as apostles to be able to go out, take on more leadership and more growth and maturing of those different characteristics and traits that this implies. In RC Core, we're going to be going deep into those elements that help us grow and mature so that we can be apostles of the kingdom and that Christ can reign more fully in our hearts and in society. The RC Horizons phase is a time of fruitfulness, of life-giving growth, of wide open horizons. Kind of taking those traits of the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle and trying to live that to the full in our own personal mission and vocation, and in our vocation as Regnum Christi Lay Apostles. So the content and experiences of this phase are going to be helping to bring those traits to fulfillment, to maturity, to a fruitfulness, to a life-giving time, and it implies a lot of self-giving and investment in helping others grow as apostles of the kingdom. How do we implement this formation plan? Regnum Christi has multiple levels of the organization, and each level of the organization has a responsibility and a part to play and a role to play in implementing the formation plan. This is outlined in a framework for the Regnum Christi Lay Apostle in the second part of the formation plan. And we can look at the different levels and their roles and responsibilities. We have the territory, who has the responsibility of really outlining those guidelines and goals in a very general sense, and then offering tools and training to be able to help Regnum Christi formators and resources to be able to help implement it. Then we have the locality, which the locality is a community of apostles in a geographical space or city, metro area, and they are discerning together, all of the Regnum Christi family there present, how they are called to evangelize and make present the kingdom there. So this shapes then what are we looking at, which things do we need to highlight or concentrate on or put priority on for our own formation and growth. So this shapes the formation plan. And then we have each Regnum Christi section, which is a grouping of teams in Regnum Christi and offers to be able to facilitate elements of the Regnum Christi life that can't be done just on its own or in a team. So the section then will have a formation plan and kind of take those broad guidelines and plan and be able to say, what are our needs now with this evangelization plan, with these people, these times and circumstances? How do we form to that and equip our people as Regnum Christi lay apostles? Then each Regnum Christi team, which is also defined in the rule of life as a community of apostles, is looking at a grouping of, 10 to 12 members of Regnum Christi, and it's looking at how do we grow and accompany each other in our growth of these traits of the Regnum Christi lay apostle. So each team has a formation plan of how they are going to continue to grow and mature these traits. And finally, each individual member. The Regnum Christi rule of life for the lay members talks about how it's the role and personal responsibility of every member of Regnum Christi to take on personal responsibility for their formation. So in the end, each member of Regnum Christi can take the broad guidelines, the traits, and kind of say, what is Jesus calling me to now? What is he doing in my life? In this reality of my life, circumstances, life phase, all of that, how is he calling me to live more fully my vocation as a late Regnum Christi member, as an apostle of the kingdom? So each member can kind of make their own formation plan, assisted by their team leader, assisted by their spiritual director, to be able to say, right now, in this here and now of my life, how do I respond to Jesus? How do I have my heart more ready to become more fully the Regnum Christi lay apostle that he's calling me to be?